Hi, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afi. On behalf of the adjudicators of Flame 2023 of Fatih Bilingual School, we thank everyone for your participation. And as a token of your hard work, we decided to also record this post-debate analysis because we want you to really learn, not only to participate and winning this competition, but also have a take home in this competition. First, let's move on to the post-debate analysis of the first motion. This House would dismiss the government officials whose children committing criminal act. As a background, perhaps we already introduced you during our debate that this is a new cases of Rafael and his son, all of these cases. So the background was questioning about the integrity of the parents. So more or less, both of the team, first things first, you need to really read and understand what is happening in the background. Why suddenly this government officials happening in this motion, and who is this children committing criminal act? Beyond that, you also need to understand first, what is government officials? What do they do? Who are their employers? And then why is that? What is their responsibility? And the next point is about children. Who is this children actually? And what is their responsibility as a children? What is the relationship between children and parent? That is the second keyword. The last keyword would be criminal act. What is the criminal act actually? How this criminal justice system or CGS will work at the very first place? And what about the CGS for these children? Because they are minors actually. So that is the three main keywords that you need to understand since the very first time. Now, let's move on to each side's explanation. First, let's move to government team. First pointer is that government officials are given power to contribute to society and looked up upon in the neighborhood, because their work consists of heavy duties and responsibilities. But this doesn't mean to sacrifice work over family, because eventually wealth upon the work are flowed to the family to enjoy. Team government need to prove that being a government officials is being looked up in the society because they are part of the power, because they are part of the government. I mean, government comes from the word govern, right? Govern means that you are being the ruler of the society. So you need to take a look at this point as team government. Second pointer is that team government need to talk about how family are often left out, because again, they are busy with work. They are barely able to organize the family with very little family quality time. And because of that, they hire household assistants. Eventually, your team as government need to prove that how this child parent system fail, or simply say, how this family education system is failing since the very first place, because their family are often left out. And eventually, you need to prove that because of this failure, this can lead to a criminal act. But beware of this proof, because sometimes teams fail to prove the relationship between the failure of the system can lead to a criminal act. For example, you can say that, hey, these children are doing the criminal act because they are being left out, because no one is taking care of them. Or let's say, even if they are household assistant, the household assistant is only an assistant. They don't have this power in the family, so that these children can do whatever they want because they don't care about the household assistants, so that they can do anything, and then they started to be in the bad environment, and eventually they will do a criminal act without parents like, oh, my children is doing criminal act, right? So this is the point that team government need to take care of in the second system. The third one is about how we talk about the nation or the society, right? The nation doesn't want family systems to fail, because families are crucial in building responsible and wise society. Why? Because to achieve this, the government officials will have to seriously take care of their family, because let's face it, wealth doesn't resolve all family issues. Families need to make sure that their children not to ruin their dignity of their sacred position. I already talked about how government officials are being looked up in the society, and these families, especially these government officials, need to protect the dignity of their sacred position, because eventually, because they have this power, the wealth support will be gone when dismissed. Lastly, let's talk about the abuse of power by children. Children are given such lifestyle that they are so comfortable, able to gain anything they want due to two things: wealth and power. This is the two main keyword that team government and also team opposition could talk about. It's about how these government officials are having this abundant wealth and abundant power. Moral education by primary educators' parents. Okay, let me underline these motions, or sorry, let me underline this keyword. Primary educators are parents. Why? Because maybe some of you are thinking, oh, education is about school and school is about education. But don't forget that the first ever educator of yourself since you were born until now is your parents, is your family. So if you're going to talk about education, don't forget to talk about your primary educators, which is parents. And this will enrich your debate later on. And let's go back to this point then, because this moral education by parents are lacking. These are causing these children to misbehave. And even if so, there are some sort of moral education, the children are being blind by the power they have, since the notion among the society is that when you are wealthy, you have a lot of ways to get out. For example, you have begging, you can mine sogo, and etc. And this wealthiness, you have ways to get out. It's resulting in fearless actions without responsibility. And that is what happened in this case of Raphael and his son, because his son is having power. He is being blinded with this idea so that he can do anything because, oh yeah, my father have power, so what? So team government can also talk about these points. Now, let's move on to team opposition. First, let's talk about let's talk about the government officials. It is an oath that they take, so the burden is real. There are consequences when they do not work ethically correct. Ethically correct is the keyword here. This will be happening in your side. The dismissing will be happen. Your parents will be dismissed by this by the government, and therefore the focus of the parent is going to be majorly shifted. First point is that family not fully left out, because occasionally there are important times like family vacations and daily dinner at home and other stuff, because eventually they will still go home to see how well their family is. Team opposition need to say that, hey, yes, we acknowledge the fact that these government officials are actually busy, but it doesn't mean that they fully abandon their family right. For example, their wealth is enough to hire, let's say, guru ngaji, or let's say a moral teacher, or even a personal trainer, right? So that it doesn't mean that these government officials can blame their wealth, because again, they can use their wealth to make sure that the moral of their children is going well. What I mean by going well is that it's going with the flow of the society, right? Like if the society expect you to be sopan santun, you have a manner, then you are going that way. If you are in power, if you are having wealth, it doesn't mean that you can be songong in Bahasa Indonesia, right? So that is actually the very first thing that these government official family need to think of. The second point is that especially in Asians and Indonesians culture, the country does not need to implement as such proposals, since the society already believe in family culture things. Because family, again, will be held accountable, because no parents will just let their kid misconduct, right? This is what I mean by the societal pressure. Because sometimes the best punishment is not coming from government or from the CGS. Sometimes the better punishment, especially from Asian culture, is the pressure of society, or Indonesia, we call it julitan tetangga or julitan saudara. So you really need to think of this way, especially if you're talking about Asian context, right? Because like I told you before, family punishments already exist to neutralize any bad outcomes. Like for example, it really immensely reminding the child that their wealth is due to a sacred position. The key word here is that their wealth is due to a sacred position. Thus, you, your family, your government officials must behave well, or you have to face the consequences. You will be poor. because I think for the past several years, what I see is lacking from like the debaters is that the analysis of how actually the culture of the family or the culture of Asians and Indonesians, especially if you're talking about Asians context here, right? And then last point for the opposition, let's talk about the criminal justice system. The children misbehaving by criminal act has its own law and punishments. That's why I told you in the very beginning to read, to know what is happening, what is the CGS. And then after CGS, you also need to know that there are different CGS treatment for children. It's not that if you say, oh, because these children are minor, then they will not be punished. No, they will still be punished, but then the punishment will be different from those of adults, right? So I think your homework is to also read about how the criminal justice system is working for children in Indonesia for a better context here, right? Let's talk about this thing. This system is based on action responsibility and not accusing of such relation that is not based upon family. And there's a difference between lack of moral education, one, and purposely doing a criminal act, because no such thing not on purpose, because seeking sympathy by stating, oh, I am morally not nature, you need to differentiate between these two things. Like number one, you might claim that, hey, this is because there are a lack of moral education. However, you need to also acknowledge, yes, even if these minors are still minors, at some point they can purposely doing this criminal act, right? So team opposition need to differentiate these two things. And let's go back to the government officials, because their job is not a direct cause of the criminal act, right? Even if the children does this to attract attention of a broken family, this is not the case. And this won't go too far, because if you claim that, hey, we want to, because I'm from broken family, I don't have a good family relationship, that's why I revolt, because I want their attention, that's why I revolt, I do criminal act. But then you need to prove that doing criminal act is never justified for saying that, hey, I want to attract attention for my nuclear family, right? So that is the point that you need to prove as team opposition. Yep, so far that is the thing that we can talk about. I think for the rest of this debate later on, I hope that everyone is really read, right? When I say read, it really means that you see the world, you read the news, like you see what's happening in this world, especially let's say in Indonesia and then the rest of the world. Because especially in these motions, if you don't understand the context, if you don't read the news, you won't understand the motion or the spirit of this motion, right? So yep, that is so far for me. Thank you for watching this. I hope you can debate better, and thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ya, coba